I'm delighted to say I'm joined by the two-time champion of the world, Scott Waits. Thanks very much for the time, Scott. How are you doing?
I'm not so bad, yeah. Good morning.
Well, thanks very much for the time, and wanted to start off really by going right back to the beginning for you in darts. I mean, your name started to appear around 2005, 2006, having some big runs at some of the bigger BDO Opens, but where did it start for you in darts?
A lot of it was just playing with my mates in the pub, and some of them at the time were playing for the county, like Gary Thompson. He's been round probably as long as the dinosaurs, as Gaz. And basically, he was going away for some of these little weekends, so I joined him on these little weekends away.
And how did you find it to begin with, going to these bigger events? Obviously, you mentioned there you started off with just playing with mates, but then to go into competitions, what was that like?
It was more of just like a bit of fun and a weekend away rather than a serious darts tournament. And it was just more to spend time with my friends. If they were going away, I had nobody to knock about with. So just go away, play darts, and as it happened then, I started getting further and further in some of these competitions.
Definitely, yeah. And 2007, that was a breakthrough year for you, winning the Dutch Open, the biggest Open of them all, beating Steve West 3-0 in the final. What are your memories of that weekend?
So, believe it or not, we went to the Dutch Open on one of my best friends' stag do's. So, there were about 20 of us went over, and so basically we did exactly what all lads do. Went out Thursday night on beer, got in early hours Friday morning. I think we had 2 or 3 hours sleep, and then we're playing darts on the Friday. And then I think I qualified for on the Friday for the Sunday, and then we went out again Saturday, and then it was just like non-stop drinking weekend. And as it happens, then I won the pairs and the singles. So it was quite an eventful weekend.
Unbelievable. And you look back at that, how that tournament's run, and obviously the last couple of rounds it goes away from the boards on the floor to then having that big stage at the end of a weekend. And as you say there, darts probably wasn't the highest priority for you guys that weekend, but to get to the final, play on that big stage and win the whole thing, you must have been, you couldn't have believed it really.
Yeah, to be honest, the VIP room and everything, I've never been in a VIP room until that weekend, and I was only allowed me and another guest in. So I took my pairs partner Gary Thompson in, but we must have spent 20 minutes in the VIP room and then went back onto the main floor and in the main bars and never really used it so much. But that was one of them. You saw all the dart players that you used to see on TV and everything, and as a kid growing up, you idolised most of them. And then to be in the same room as them, it was quite strange, because they were all looking at me going, who's he, basically.
Well, they certainly soon found out, and it was a big year, as I say, 2007. You win that title, and that summer as well, it gets announced you're the highest non-ranked qualifier for the BDO for the first ever Grand Slam of darts as well, so things are really starting to progress for you now.
That was another funny story for the Grand Slam. So we're out on the Thursday night with my mates, and we're playing in the local league, and my phone goes, and we're always having a laugh and a joke with each other and winding each other up. Phone goes, guy says, "Hi, it's Barry Hearn here. I want to invite you to the Grand Slam." And I went, "Yeah, all right, Barry, yeah, no worries." And he went, "No, seriously, it's Barry Hearn." I said, "Yeah, of course it is, Barry, yeah." He went, "Well, I'll tell you what, I'll put the paperwork in the post. You should have it in a couple of days." I went, "All right then, Barry, I'll see you at the Grand Slam, mate." But sure enough, 2 days later, the paperwork came through the post, and I'm like, I don't believe that. Really don't believe it. I thought it was one of my mates winding me up.
So what was it like then, going to the Grand Slam and not just playing the best of the BDO, but also playing the best of the PDC and also on ITV as well?
Well, all my mates are like wanting me to win, but in reality, I've got no chance of competing with them guys whatsoever. But what I tended to do was I started to practice quite a lot. So when I actually won the Dutch Open, I went back home and everybody says you can probably do something in darts. And I've always been quite interested in darts, but never took it serious. So every night I practiced for at least 2 hours a night, which at the time worked, and it benefited me massively.
Yeah, it certainly looked like it, because 2008 you make your Lakeside debut as the third seed. That year as well you get to the World Masters final, have a classic final with Martin Adams, just lose out in a final set. So something that started out as a bit of fun with your mates, and all of a sudden you're competing in big finals and playing in World Championships as well.
Yeah, within 2 years of just taking darts as a bit of fun and everything, it just got really serious.
2009, another big milestone for you. You get to the Grand Slam final I mentioned there a moment ago. I know it was a hard defeat to take against Phil Taylor, but playing against the best player in the world, and that must have been a special occasion, even though the result was one-sided.
Oh, I'll tell you what, you get no better feeling ever in your life than being a massive underdog but reaching the final of a competition like that and standing behind Phil Taylor. And yeah, it completely destroyed me. But I'd done my bit. I'd got to the final, my semi-final and my final. I'd still turned up, and don't get me wrong, I still wanted to try and beat Phil. In reality, I was just overcome with the competition, overcome with getting to the final and everything. And, I was never going to win that in a million years.
But 12 months later, you do become the Grand Slam champion, and an unbelievable final, 8-0 down against James Wade to come back and win it 16-12. What are your memories of that? I mean, it's almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah. Loads of people still watch that and tell me they've seen the game and they can't believe that I were 8-0 down. It was so close them first 8 legs. It was just like we're both down to a double. But I just didn't hit them, and James did. And then I was just thinking to myself, God, just try and get more than 2 legs, because I only got 2 last year. And as luck happens to have it, then I started hitting my doubles, and James didn't. And then I started clawing a few legs back, and then I think I went into the break something like, I think it was 11-9 at one point. And I turned around looking at my dad. My dad's going, you've got him. Just get out there. You've got him. And I'm like, well, I know. Well, I think I'm coming back. But obviously, darts, you can't take anything for granted.
And obviously you go on to win some big titles after that. But that first one, I suppose, winning the Grand Slam, and the way you did it as well, to come back from such a big deficit against James Wade. What's the emotion like when that double goes in and you are the Grand Slam champion?
All I was thinking was, I remember, I think it was 32 that hit, and I think I hit it with my second dart. And all I was thinking was, just keep your arms straight, arms steady, breathe. And there's a lot of emotions that go through your head. But sometimes when you let go of your dart, you know it's going to go in. And that was one of the moments when I knew that dart was going to go into the double 16. I knew it was going to go in. And then, like, complete relief. It's like you've done it. You've completely done it, and that's another emotion that unless you actually get there, you'll never ever realise.
What's the reaction like among the players and everyone at the BDO? Because this is still very early on in the Grand Slam. I think it's the 3rd or 4th year. You've got to a couple of finals. You've won it as a BDO player as well. What was the reaction like on that side of darts?
We never ever thought that anybody from the BDO would be able to come over to the PDC and compete, especially in the Grand Slam. I mean, it's proved it in the years gone by. But everybody were really congratulating and everything else. But it's one of them tournaments. It's so hard. You've got the elite of both sides of the court playing against each other. And the problem with the BDO lads was that we'd never got as much TV coverage as what the PDC lads got, so we'd never got the stage practice either. They were always on TV, always on the big stage, and the BDO lads weren't. And I think that for darts, for the BDO lads, was a massive disadvantage.
Definitely, and as I say, it's almost 10 years since you won that Grand Slam title, and 10 years on, you now are a PDC player. You're on the tour, you've got your tour card, but back then, was there any chance, did you ever come close to making that switch back then to the PDC?
I was still going out. I've always been one. I like my bills to be paid every month. And I felt that if I went to the PDC and didn't make it, who were going to pay my bills. So I didn't have enough money saved up to be able to support myself for even 12 months of the PDC. Even though I'd won like the Grand Slam of darts, I didn't have that money spare. I paid some of my mortgage off, and by the time you pay your tax off it anyway, there's not a lot left. So I didn't feel that I could support my family at the time. So that's why I never did the initial jump. I mean, maybe looking back, maybe you should think, well, should have just given it a go. Maybe I'd be in a different situation now.
That's fair enough, and I suppose so as well. When you look back at what the titles that you've been able to win in amongst those 10 years since, of course, you've become a two-time world champion. You've won a world masters, so you've won the big titles that are up for grabs on the BDO that have got a lot of history and prestige behind them. So when you look back, do you think it probably was a good decision? I've been able to still pick up some big titles.
Yeah, I don't regret not ever going over. I mean, like now, I've got my talk card now, but from the BDO, I mean, I learned my trade in the BDO, so I can't really knock the BDO for the years that I had with them. I mean, the last year and the year before in the BDO, you could see the demise of it, you can see it going downhill, and you know, it's in the solid state of affairs at the minute, and it shouldn't be, because we need a BDO, we need a grassroots of darts, and you know, my two world champions there, there were still some awesome dart players. There's thousands and thousands of BDO players that you don't even see that can actually compete with the lads that you see regularly on TV, but they can't make it to all the competitions. So the standard is still exceptionally high. So to win like the World Championship, still a massive, massive achievement in the BDO.
Definitely, and we come on to the last couple of years, start of 2019, you get to your third world final, unfortunately losing out to Glenn Durrant in the final, but a lot of the headlines after that week were Glenn going to Q School, but also yourself going to Q School as well.
Yeah, I had to go, and I didn't play very well in Q School in 2019, to be honest. It was just not going to be my year. So sometimes you just got to just take it. Darts is darts. Sometimes on the day you can beat anybody, and sometimes on the day you can lose to anybody. And 2019 wasn't my year for darts.
Yeah, and a year's a long time in darts, and towards the end of that year, of course, you get to the World Masters final. Start of this year, another World Championship quarter-final, and you give it another go, and this time around you come through, you get your tour card, and on that final day, a lot of close games, 5-3s, 5-4s, but in the final game, a 5-0 against a very talented young player, Keane Barry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I played Keane as well one of the other days, and I beat Keane then, so I was quietly confident about just beating him again, because he was more worried. He came off after the first game, told me he was worried about playing me. So to get him in the last game, to get me talk card, was quite good. But you can't take that for granted. You've still got to get up there, concentrate, and hope your darts are a bit better than his. But as it happens, winning the talk card, absolutely fantastic. But then we had probably 2 months of proper darts, and we got hit with the coronavirus, and we are where we are now.
Yeah, it's been a very strange year to have your first year on the PDC tour, and I remember just before the virus, or just when it came in, you spoke to someone else and you said about that you'd quit your job and you were going to go full time with the darts. Is that still the case, or have you gone back to doing some work given the circumstances right now?
I hadn't been noticing when I won my tour card, and I basically weren't be noticed up to the end of March, and so they could find somebody to replace me as well in my job. And then I left on the 31st of March. And then 2 weeks later, the country's in basic lockdown. There's no darts going ahead. And I'm stuck in the middle of nowhere then. I've got no job. I've got nothing. I've got no income whatsoever.
What's that been like then? Because I know we've just started to see events come back. We had a week of events in July, and we've just got off the back of the autumn series. You're going to be playing this weekend. We'll touch on in a moment. But what was that like then? That 4 months when you literally had nothing.
It's difficult. You don't know what to do. did furlough me, and to their credit, they furloughed me, but I didn't get, obviously, they didn't pay me a wage for the first 2 months. But that furlough money helped me out a great deal. And now we went to the summer series. But my problem is that I've got my daughter 4 days a week, Monday to Thursday. So it's difficult finding somebody to help me out to look after her because I'm a single parent. So the summer series and like the autumn series, they don't really suit me at the minute. It's so difficult trying to arrange the home life around the darts at the minute, whereas before it was ideal because I don't have my daughter on a weekend. So when darts gets back to normality, my life's perfect then.
Excellent. Fingers crossed that's sooner rather than later. And I suppose this weekend then that will work out nicely for you because we've got the European Tour back, an event that you qualified for back in around February, March time. So it's been a long time coming for you to make that European Tour debut this weekend.
It has, yeah. To be honest, I'm really looking forward to this weekend. There's a lot of travelling involved though at the minute because we're struggling to get direct flights, so we're basically flying to Frankfurt where we went last week and we're trading it to Hildesheim, but there's not a lot more you can do, so it's just a bit of a struggle, but you just got to overcome these little hurdles that are in your way, and I just hope I have a good weekend.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And after this weekend, then what does the rest of 2020 look like? I know there's not a lot of things that have been announced, but I think you qualified for another of the European Tour events, and we're hoping to see another stretch of Pro Tour events as well. So what does the last few months look like for you at the moment?
Yeah, well, I'm really hoping that, I've got another European Tour event, so I qualified for Euro Tour 3, and I missed out by one leg qualifying for Euro Tour 4. In the autumn series in Germany, I was really happy how my darts were going. I just lost out on the odd leg in a few games, so I've got no complaints at the minute. I like I say, I just want some normality in my life. I just want to get back to we're playing darts this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or something like that, and then got my daughter through the week, and then it's easy. Rather than trying to juggle darts and my family life and everything else at the minute, because it's quite difficult to do.
Definitely. Well, hopefully we'll see that happen sooner rather than later. Scott, really appreciate you taking out some time to have a chat with us, and wish you all the best this weekend. Safe travels over to Hildesheim, and hopefully it's a good weekend for you.
All right. Thank you very much. Cheers then.